Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Creature Madness with your host, me, Gus from Askewed Reviews. Now, if you don't know what Creature Madness is, this was actually a creation by my friend Matthew over at Horror Madness, who decided to create a movie club. Now, everyone involved in this, we all watch the same creature feature film, and then each of us does our own review on that movie for all of you. And aside from myself and Matthew, the other members of this club are Bambi, Jen, Ryan, Ashley, Karen, and Amariah. And speaking of Amariah, it was her turn to choose the movie that we all watched. And she chose the 2011 film The Cabin in the Woods, directed and co-written by Drew Goddard. So if you've never seen this one before, trust me, you are definitely missing out. This is a absolutely fantastic horror comedy that is well worth the watch. So let me tell you more about the concept to see if this is something that you either want to check out for the first time or do a rewatch on. So in The Cabin in the Woods, we have a group of college-age friends, Dana, Jules, Kurt, Marty, and Holden. Now these five friends decide that they're going to go and do a fun little vacation at a cabin in the middle of the woods that belongs to a family member of one of these characters. Now, unbeknownst to our main characters, this vacation was not actually their decision. This was all a plot set up by a secret government organization that is trying to make sure that the world doesn't end. So you may, of course, be wondering, how is a group of friends going on vacation going to help stop the world from ending? Well, we then discover that this agency, what their true purpose is making sure that essentially all of the scenarios that happen in horror movies do end up happening, as this is a sacrificial program that's set up to appease the old gods and make sure that they don't resurface and take over the world. Now, this secret organization is worldwide and does have multiple facilities across the globe. The problem is, this time around, all of the other facilities have failed their scenarios, so it's down to this last one to get it right. So, with everything riding on this organization accomplishing their tasks, will they manage to do so, or will this group of survivors be the ones to screw everything up? So, I really love the concept for this movie just because it gives this funny kind of backstage version of what's happening behind the scenes in every horror movie, if you kind of look at it like that. And that really makes it funny, and it just really adds an interesting extra layer whenever you watch horror movies going forward. I also really enjoy all of the references and homages to different horror films throughout this, especially Evil Dead. That's a major one. You can tell as soon as you see that cabin. Another thing that I really enjoyed about this movie is there are so many familiar faces, tons of different actors and actresses that you would recognize from different movies and television series, and so many of them are from the Joss Whedon verse, which I have my opinions on him as a person, but I'll skip that for now. But I do at least have to say, when it comes to the projects that he's worked on, I have really enjoyed quite a few of those. But there's also some big name people like Chris Hemsworth as one of the main characters, and a really big cameo near the end of the film, but I won't ruin that just in case you haven't seen this. I already know that at some point I am definitely going to be doing one of my trivia videos about this movie, just because I feel like there's so much behind this one that I think it would be absolutely fascinating. So, all in all, I really loved this movie. I really like the concept, the characters, the atmosphere, and especially the fact that since I originally watched it, I always kind of have that lingering in the back of my mind when watching other horror movies of, hmm, kind of imagining what they're doing behind the scenes to get that set up if it did exist in this kind of world. So for me on my scale, I'm giving this one a 5 out of 5. And if you'd like to check it out for yourselves, it's currently streaming for free on Hulu, Peacock, and Fubo. Now, as a quick spoiler warning, this is a heads up that I'm about to do my section of Creature Madness where I go more in depth about the creatures that appear in this film. I will say this though, I'm not going to go super in depth because that would take hours when it comes to this movie. So I feel it's necessary that the first creature I go over are the old gods that are mentioned throughout the film and then seen at the very end. Now, we don't really know much about them other than they once roamed the earth, then eventually they went underground. They're probably some type of mixture of hellscape or Cthulhu-like creatures or cosmic beings. But other than that, we don't get too much more about them. Then, of course, I have to mention the Buckners. They are probably the creatures that get maybe the most screen time, but definitely the most exposure in this story, as they are this somewhat zombified, horrific redneck family, as they call it on the board and everything. But yeah, but they're basically the undead that seem to have a bit of an understanding of what they're doing. Now, later on in the film, we do discover that there are hundreds, if not thousands or millions, of these creatures that are all within these containments below this facility. We see a good portion of them spilling out into the elevators at one point, but there are so many. So I've decided to just give a couple honorable mentions. That I definitely have to mention is the classic werewolf. This does show up a couple of times near the end of the movie. You have this absolutely terrifying, very toothy ballerina girl. This guy who is definitely an homage to Hellraiser. A unicorn, which definitely has such a funny, odd moment in the movie. And of course, I definitely can't forget to mention the merman. So I hope you enjoyed my review of Cabin in the Woods. And if you'd like to see what everyone else did for their review on this film, just look up the hashtag Creature Madness.